Well, and hello and welcome to another episode 10 of Couldve been a classic, Defiance. Let's get into this. A couple of weeks ago I was in CEX. I picked this up for £2 and I bought the other two seasons off Amazon to complete it. This was a series I sort of wasn't bothered about when it started. I sort of floated in and out of it, you know, because I didn't think it were anything new. I mean, it's like a cross between Firefly, set in similar worlds, you know. Well, I don't mean like with spaceships and that, like, you know, societies on the border worlds. And there's a couple of other sci-fi series with this sort of, how do you say it, effect to it, you know. Like you've got Firefly, there's a few others about after the apocalypse society in these weird places, and they're all survived, they're all different. This, I've got to give it this, I do like the premises about immigration, like in a way, because the aliens that come to Earth, the Votan collective, their star system died 5,000 years ago, and survivors of the race got in arcs, and a big fleet of them came to Earth, and they got here in 2013. Now, what's interesting about Defiance, which I really enjoyed, there's a massive backstory of history which I found completely fascinating, and there's still some unresolved questions. Now, how this finished, it was a bit disappointing, to be honest, but let's get into it. In 2013, the Votans turn up on Earth in a load of space arcs, and there's a couple of million of them. And obviously the world gets freaked out, and there's a series of events. I think they get, from what I've read in the back history. Now, this series goes with a video game, like an online platform where you can play within the world of Defiance. Now, I've watched a couple of videos of the game, so I've not played the game. I wasn't that bothered about it, but I remember there was a massive public, advertising thrust, social media about Defiance, the game and the characters and all this. So we see this kid look up at the sky, and an aeroplane flies with his mother, and a big massive arc spaceship coming into orbit, entering Earth's atmosphere. That obviously some of the crew must have been waking up, because a load of them in suspended animation sleep pods, and I think they've been in there for thousands of years, you know, to get from their stars to ours. Well, I think there's 7 races. Well, I think there's 8, because another one turns up in 3rd season. I think there's 7 Votan races. You know, it's pretty interesting. I forgot what the races are called. I cannot believe it. Well, you've got these, you've got some fascinating characters. Well, what happens, these aliens turn up, and they turn up, and sort of like, we give them Brazil. I think they give them somewhere in Brazil to live, and so many of them are allowed down to Earth. I mean, you've got censor-offs or something they're called. There's all these different ones. You've got these ones with blonde hair and all that. Now, they're quite... I'll go into this in a minute. I forgot what they're called. I had all this prepared, and I've gone and forgot what they were called. But 7 races, apparently. And there's the Ganuli. These are energy-based ones. You only see them once. There's the Volt. Is it the Vulture? They're from another star system. They turn up in the pilot episode. They're like this warlike lot. And then you've got all these blonde-haired ones, and the Arathians. I forgot what the blonde-haired ones are called. If anybody knows, remind me. But there's Defiance and his wife, I mean, I love them too. The son Alec, is it Malik or whatever? Anyway, so they turn up and they get somewhere in Brazil to live, and they're making relationships. Actually, human race we're not too bad with them. We'll sort of welcome them, but only so many of them. Rest of them are on arcs. But there's a human supremacist movement that assassinates the Votan ambassador, and it kicks off. They go to war with us, but we fight back, and this war is devastating. I think there's some nuclear stuff kicking off, a few places getting nuked. And human race seems to be quite advanced, actually, because we create biome and these blue light, they're made from stem cells. These warrior, they're a bit simple, but they're called biome and they've got numbers across the chest. And we end up creating them in this war. There's a thing called the Pale Wars, and it goes on for about a decade. And this is right until like 2032 or something. And anyway, there's this big battle with all these sort of the Votans and us, and really, I mean, they're the ones that come here, and I mean, you can argue about this. When they turn up, our planet gets destroyed because we have to defend ourselves. Well, and I'm not going into right and wrong. They didn't know we were here, you see, because 2,000 years ago, it comes out they came here before. They sent another ship out scouting Wales. And I'll go into that. This is over 2 seasons, which is interesting. Well, it's this like war, and I think it's sort of a draw. And what happens is somebody or someone destroys all the arcs in orbit, so they've got no supply lines or anything. It wipes out all the arcs. They all get destroyed. I don't know how many arcs. There's quite a few of them. They get done, and this thing called the arc belt forms around the earth, you know, the debris of the ships. But there's a problem. They have a lot of terraforming technology. It all drops down from ships and it drops on earth and it wipes out cities and millions die, even loads of Votans. It changes the whole world. The whole world changes into this new sort of earth. And that's what's sort of interesting. I think it would have been better if it had been set over a bit of a longer time frame, but let's get into it. So there's a battle called the Battle of Defiance, where both armies are doing each other and all this. And something happens, they all stop fighting each other and they help the survivors both sides. And they all disobey the commanders. And Joshua Nolan, he's got a reputation for being like, he was one of the worst warriors. He killed loads of Votans. He's got this the massacre at Defiance. He was involved in this massacre, and it's about him and his alien daughter. She's really cool. I forgot her name as well, Eris or something like that. So they all get like, anyway, they all form the make peace. And they realise that if they keep fighting, they'll destroy the planet and there'll be nowhere any of them live, because the Votans can't go there. Stucky old ships have been destroyed and millions of them have died. So there's them and us, what's left of us. And like, the sort of like states get created. Like Defiance is in the centre of all this. It creates the city-state. Now there's this element that got created on it called Gulamite. And it powers Votan technology, and you get people called arc hunters that go in these abandoned spaceships and retrieve Votan technology on all sides. So there's 2 power blocks as far as, there's Antarctica, that's meant to be a tropical paradise. We sort of hear about it, but we don't see it. And you've got your Votan Collective and the Earth Republic. 2 power block. They own like North America and Europe, I think, and the Votan Collect's got South America, and we know that nobody lives in Australia. Nobody lives there, so that must have got wiped out and re-terraformed. And we go into this town called Defiance, and there's a mayor called Amanda Julia Benz, and Joshua Nolan and his daughter Arissa, his daughter, she's an Ariffan or something. He calls her Arissa or something, and they go around together. They get involved in situation, and the mayor of Defiance. You've got spirit riders. They get caught by spirit riders and get robbed, and somehow they end up in Defiance. And this lawman, he gets killed. Right, he gets killed, and Joshua Nolan takes his place, and the statue in Defiance. Well, basically, what's unique about Defiance? That everybody lives together, Votans and humans. And basically every week there's this like political side. There's 2 political power blocks, so there's political machinations going on with Earth Republic and the Votans. But then we get into the characters of Defiance. Now, there's these two aliens, I forgot what they're called now, honestly. Day Tactile, they've all got blonde hair, and his wife, Isma or something, she's off, right, I forgot, Vasma. Anyway, she's got blonde hair, but all they seem to do is just have sex in bath all the time, because it's like they've got this weird culture of how they behave, and the man's the man. Anyway, his wife's right sneaky and devious, and she's not having it. Their relationship changes, and they have a son, he runs a radio station. Well, he's like the local gangster, you know, like, and everybody like works for him. So then you get all these other characters. You've got the mayor, you've got Joshua Nolan, and each week there's something weird with Votans and all these different ones, Spirit Riders about being accepted. And we go through these old scenarios, but in the first 2 seasons, there's this story arc, because Nolan's daughter's connected to this other Arafian, where they came here before. It's like they don't really sort of go into that, but they connected. There's a thing called the Key, and they're all looking for it, and the Earth Republic. Now you've got this human family called the Macaulays. He's the second most powerful man. I think he's the richest. He owns the mine where all the Goulamite is, and he's up to stuff. But the gangster earlier, Day Tactile's son, is in love with this guy's daughter. They hate each other. But he's on the council, and it's just, you get all these scenarios with all the characters. And Joshua Nolan's in it, and he starts cleaning up the town, and like it's every week you get like a murder or some threat from outside. Now the pilot episode is really good. It's like 2 episodes. He turns up and so you meet all these characters, which is quite sort of fascinating. But then what happens is like there's these other aliens called the Vulge. The Bulge, you know. Oh, the Vulge, and they're just going around like wiping everybody out. They're not Votans. Nobody knows how they just turned up and attacked during the Pale Wars. Even the Votans don't like them, but they reckon they were cloned. Oh, you've got your indigens. These were created. They're like really, they look like lizards, like the white, and they've like got snake skin. But the clones, and they were created to live with Day Tactile's lot. So, I mean, there's 7 races, no way I can remember, because, like, yeah, a lot of the races, you only get about 2 or 3 races covered, really. And it's like the main character. Jamie Murray, she's stunning. She plays Day Tactile's wife, and she's right devious and sneaky. And, you know, they sort of suit each other, but, I mean, they do get the comeuppance to a point as well. But as the doc, well, she's a war criminal, because when she were up on Earth, she were experimenting on humans, and apparently her race can be turned into shapeshifters. It's like they're a blank slate, so they can be altered. So we go into this, and we go into like Votan history and all this. Like it's going back 2,000 years, because as we're going into the first season, they're all after this thing at mine called the Key. There's 2 keys that have to be put together to create this computer intelligence, but they can't come together because it'll terraform the whole planet. It don't care if you're Votan or human; it'll just wipe out the planet and recreate a new Votan homeworld. So all this is going on. Well, his daughter, when he found his daughter during Pale Wars, end at Pale Wars, there were all these like other Votans doing this religious ceremony on her. So she must have been chosen, or a DNA. And never really explains why. It says like how she's reborn. Doesn't really go into that. But she's connected to this one in past. So we go through all this. And it finishes at end of first season where she merges with these 2 computers and she starts activating stuff in orbit. And the Earth Republic in season 2, New York gets wiped out and terraformed. But I think some at Votan Collective gets done as well. So the Earth Republic, because they've took over Defiance and there's a lot going on there, they're all quite dodgy. Well, you've got this Chancellor who's like keeps coming to Defiance, but he's a cosplayer, because they've got this thing where humans like to dress up as the Votans. It's like a secret club, basically it's cosplaying. It's like they're just like dressing up as them. You know, I mean, this is what's so cool about it, and they've embraced a lot of our culture as well. And of course there's racism against each other and how they work it out and all this, which is sort of interesting. But in season 2, Earth Republic gets done, a big, like the capital city, and that goes into chaos. They pull out of Defiance. Well, they get Defiance back because the Earth Republic, they're quite nasty. I mean, they set up camps and start killing people. And, you know, so that's it. So we get through season 2. Where like Joshua Nolan. Now Joshua Nolan, there's a lot of sex in this. I mean, there's quite a lot of it, a lot of bad language. There's a lot of blood. I mean, Joshua Nolan is quite an hero, but if he will stick a bullet in your brain, he ain't got a problem with it. You know, even like, you know, they brought Linda Hamilton in. She wanted to kidnap Defiance's grandson, Linda Hamilton, and he just put a bullet in her head. You know, and you really do like Josh. You know, it's like Han Solo, Mad Max, but with this weird sense of honour. And his daughter, she's really good with it now. So he trained her, and he basically that's it. I mean, but he has this sense of like weird sense of honour, which is quite an interesting character. Now you've got the sister that runs the brothel of the mayor. She gets done by Defiance. This is where it all sort of like Dallas, you know. But there's a lot going on in this, so let's cut through it of why this is a classic. Well, season 1 and 2 are good. There's this like a lot of politics going on and a lot of things with aliens and humans and interactions are all quite fascinating after a while. There's only about 2 to 3 alien races that are interesting. The others, I'm not that bothered about. You just ignore them really. But it's the characters that draw you in, like Defiance. The Macaulays, the human family that run them out, they got killed off. I wasn't that bothered about them. They were like standard. They were just standard. But Defiance and his wife, they were fascinating. You really get quite ups with all that. So you move along into like end of season 2, where Joshua saves his daughter, is the alien Arissa. He saves her, and the old mind collapses where this supercomputer's alive, because she finds the guy from 2,000 years ago. He's somebody else, but she finds they both connect and stop it. So they separate the 2 keys so this thing can never be activated. And they save the world, and then that's it. That's like 2 seasons of this story out. Now there's 10 and 12 episodes in like both seasons. So then we get into season 3. Now season 3 didn't really rock it for me. I thought the 2 seasons had so much potential. In season 3 you get this, the Votan collective turns up. They're going on this bloodthirsty, but they're just slaughtering humans left, right and centre, sticking them on cars and kids on trains, dead bodies everywhere. They just don't like humans. And there's this crazy loony general called the Beast, and he's on his way to Defiance to conquer the place and slaughter all humans. And just obviously they take the fight to him. There's a big thing going on, but with this general, he's just actually he's quite entertaining. I really liked him. But then we get another Votan race turn up called the Olmec, and they're like vampires, and what they do, they used to hunt the Votans down, so the Votans teamed up and got rid of them centuries ago. But they turned up because when the 2 suns collided with Votan's star system, they had arcs as well, did Olmecs, but the Indigen, the shape changer, the Olmec created these as food to serve them, but they escaped to Defiance's planet, I forgot what, another Votan world, and they got home there, and they're very technologically advanced. They're really into science. Well, what happened then? These Olmec turn up, and I mean, they all wear leather, and they've got they can have big fangs, and they eat like other Votans. I mean, they were shit, practically. I mean, leader of them, he wanted to change, you know, where he wants to change, but his daughter won't. And there's all that, and daughter kills him, and she starts bringing Omak down from this big ship to hunt everybody down. But that's like last 4 episodes, which I wasn't that bothered about it. Now you got this crazy loony general running around slaughtering everybody, which I think they should have played this out till the end of the season with this general, because he was really funny, him and his like sick bunch of Votans. But they set him up because they've got stasis nets that surround Defiance, like these force fields, because you can't get in. I don't think they can fly because all this stuff, there's like arc storms and all this, so that you'd have to go over mountains. All these new mountain ranges got created. So anyway, they used their stasis net. Defiance, who betrayed them all in town, but he had his son, did this general. He goes in, put this device in his arm, and he chops his arm off, and he does the run, and stasis net, all energy comes out and wipes him and his entire army out. This is like by episode 8, which I thought was such a waste, because him and Joshua Nolan, it would have been so good. They do sort of make, there is sort of a thing between them both, you know, but I would have liked to have seen them two. I'd like to see them conquer Defiance, and then it's all down to Joshua Nolan. You remember Shepard in Stargate with them when they got on them aliens from that planet where they took over Atlantis, and he's just running around, the Jedi, and he's just running around with the P90 taking them all out. I'd like to have seen that in this, which would have been really interesting. So that's done, and then the Votan Collective comes up. They want to become friends, but they're shitting themselves because there's an Omak harvester battle cruiser in orbit. So, but it's got no power. They don't know that, and they want to make peace with Omak, you know. And so this general, he lost the plot. I mean, his own wife went to stop him. He chopped her head off because he thought he were on this early mission of slaughtering human. But he liked David Bowie and all human music. I mean, being serious. So that is what Defiance is about. Now, final episode is it is a bit of a letdown. He goes, 4 of them, gangster alien, his daughter, and Eret's an indigent, like, who's a genius. They all beam up to ship in these pods, and she hooks herself into the computer, and she's going to blow the ship up. But the daughter says you can't blow the ship up. This is last of the race, and they've got children, and they're like the moral dilemma. So anyway, the vampire daughter beams up after she's killed the father. She's got all his strength and power, and he does it. I mean, basically, he gets rid of her. There's a big fight, and that's it. She gets vaporised, and it comes out that the mission's one way. So instead of blowing ship up, all this energy building up, he stuns his daughter, and gangster Defiance goes back down to the planet, and he stays on ship, and so because when he sees the Earth in orbit, I think it affects him. I think he realises, you know when they look at the Earth and get the universal thing, that's so much more. Him and Indigent, they fuck off and just fuck off into space at warp speed. Just that's it, they're gone. That's it. And his daughter's crying. I think she gets involved with the Alak. She gets involved with him because he's got an half-human kid, and that's where it finishes, and he becomes a legend because he saved the Earth. Now, there's a load more in Defiance. There's loads of it, and it'd take far too long for this video, and I've gone way over as it is. Now, what made this a classic? In some ways, it is quite different. They took a big risk, and they put a load of social media out on this and the computer game. Now, I've only looked at the game, so I can't really say much. It's not my thing, the game. But I actually enjoyed the first 2.5 seasons of Defiance. I think they found out it got cancelled halfway through, so they just fucked it up. But there is potential in this. The characters, some of the characters are so good that you just absolutely adore them. Like Defiance and his wife. His daughter, Joshua Nolan's a cool character. Amanda, her sister, runs the brothel. They forget the Macaulay family that run the mines, pointless. I like the creepy guy that comes in from Earth Republic, the Chancellor who likes to dress up as aliens. There's a lot in this, and a lot of political intrigue as well. And every couple of episodes, it leaves you hanging around for more. There's something about this series that draws you into it. Do you know what I mean? A lot of people panned it, but there is, if you watch it and you get into all nuances of it and start touching bits of it, you do get into this. They said this about the game. Angry Joe said, he said the game is terrible, but he said there's something about the game and it draws you in. And the world of Defiance is fascinating, especially the power blocks on the planet of the Votans and humans. And obviously there's probably other power blocks on the Earth, and how the Earth has changed because the planet's totally screwed up. It's a new world, and there's so much to explore in this, and especially the whole thing of the Pale Wars as well, the back history. You see, his daughter, well, this connection they came here 2,000 years ago, but they slaughtered everybody on the ship because they saw primitive humans running about and said we had no right to come here. But they never got back to tell the other Votans that were on the way here not to come here. Because when they turned up, they didn't start a war. They came in peace. It wasn't until some fanatic shot their ambassador, messed it all up, and it all kicks off. But the mystery is, somebody destroyed all their ships in orbit. Because you see the clip of it, and it's on like an old newscast. And that is like, there's another conspiracy underneath. Who destroyed the Votan collective, all the ships in orbit? And you go into you do get to see some of the Votan worlds, because it was like a lottery who got on these arcs, you know. So obviously it'll been all the rich ones, because they're not really, they're not different from us. They've got money and economies and, you know, and the drink and the like music. I mean, they look different and they've got their own weird customs, but generally we're all quite same. But it's amazing, in Defiance, they've all adopted each other's cultures to a point, and I find this fascinating. Defiance should have been a classic. If Defiance had got to season 5, which I think it would have deserved a superb ending, because it opens up the potential to take this to the next level. There's so much to explore in this programme, but there was a writer's strike and it did screw it up. And I think when it got cancelled, I think they just finished it off. It's such a shame, because they definitely ploughed their money into this. Defiance wasn't a cheap programme, and I've watched a few reviews, and you know, and the Arch, and that, which is now called Nolan's Arch because he saved the world from the Olmec. But you know, he goes off into space because there's it's exciting for him. It's his destiny. It'd be like Han Solo, I suppose, flying around. You know, I don't know. But he's an amazing character, and Defiance is a classic. It had the potential to go all the way. Now you can not agree with me. You know, that's it. Let me know your thoughts and opinions. But I'm gonna give Defiance could have been a classic. I really am. So that's it, guys. I'm sorry it's been a bit long. I get really carried away on these could have been the classics. So this is episode 10, and I'll see you on episode 11, which I'm hoping to release at the weekend. Alright guys, have a great Halloween, and I'll see you Sunday at 7 o'clock.